doing. So I really, really appreciate that you guys took the time to be a part of this interactive platform. So, being interactive, that means that we want you guys to be sure that you're making comments during the show, that you're calling in on the text during the show. And then that way, we'll make sure we'll be reading those comments, and our guest panel will actually be chiming in and we'll be answering those questions. But just remember, this is a very casual platform where we just want everybody to relax, like we're in your living room, and let's talk. Let's have real talk, real dialogue. Everybody, it's an adult platform, so don't forget that when we have these conversations, if it's you don't think it's going to be appropriate for your children, this may not be a show especially to watch, because today we're talking about dating during COVID. So as I said, I'm Sonia Graham. I'm the author of It's Time to Uncover Your Original Blueprint, 10 Steps to Rediscover the Real You and Your Purpose. So without further ado, we want to get into the show, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to introduce some of our guests. But once they get on, I'm going to let them say who they are and tell you a little bit about them. First, I want to go ahead and bring in Miss Shandell.
Hello. Hey, Sonia.
Hi, Shandell. Welcome to Your Voice Talk Show. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
So quick review. My name is Shandell Eaglin. I am a full-time real estate broker, and I am a native Houstonian. And I've taken a change of pace and change of location. And so now I live two lives, one in Scottsdale, Arizona, and one in Houston, Texas. I am coming into my passion and learning how to balance the demands of being a single mom in 2022 and everything that goes with it. And I look up to Sonia as a mentor in a personal and professional life. So I'm happy to be here.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much for being here. It means a lot. Thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and bring in Crandall. So, we can be fair. We'll have, he's going to be our representative for the men so far today, and let some other panelists. Crandall. Hi, Crandall. Welcome to Your Voice Show. Can you please tell my guests a little bit about you?
Sure. My name is Crandall Hardy. I am 62 years old. I've been here in Houston for most of my life. Wasn't born here, but was born in California. I've been in the oil and gas industry for about 30 years. Recently divorced. 4 years. Maybe not so recent, but this talk, I'll probably need to jot down some notes on kind of what to do, what not to do, because a lot of it may apply to me. So.
Right. Well, you know what? None of us are experts. That's why we're all here, just to have this conversation. Make sure we can see your handsome face too in your head. You might need to sit down a little bit, or because you're cutting off your forehead. There you go. There you go. All right. So now I'd like to bring in Grace.
Hi, can you see me?
Miss Grace. Yes, we do. Can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Absolutely. My name is Grace. I am 25, turn 25 tomorrow. So quarter through life.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm a model at Sonia's agency, actually. I'm in modeling and talent agency. Didn't finish college. Decided I didn't want the degree. I want to go a more creative route. And we're here today. So
awesome. Well, we're glad to have you here today. Glad to have you. So as we know, there's a lot. We're in COVID, right? But the world has to continue. So where I kind of look at it, we're almost like with each variant, it's like another phase, another wave, because it's like it's changing in a lot of ways, and in a lot of ways it's still the same. Of course, the difference is we do have a vaccine, and some people are vaccinated and some people are not, where when the COVID first happened, that wasn't an option for anybody. So I think that's changed a little bit. So I first would like to hear from everybody, just to kind of get their perspective as far as, just general. dating during COVID, is it something that we have to make normal because of where we're at now? Chandel, do you feel like that we have to create some normalcy with dating during COVID?
Absolutely. And I think part of the normalcy is, have you been vaccinated? Asking and answering that question and not being offended by it, because it's our new normal, right? I think everyone that I've met since COVID started, even just doing phone conversations, have you been vaccinated? Did you get your booster? And I think it's important to not take that personally. Like, it's normal. It's the new normal.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. So I'm going to go to Crandall with that same question. Do you think dating during COVID is something that we have to make normal, and whatever that means?
Yeah. Well, to go out with somebody, I guess, there were, with a lot of places being shut down, with some venues being closed because of the disease, you might be challenged as far as where to go, even if you can find a date, even if you have somebody to go with you. So with a lot of venues closed, that's kind of challenging. But like Chandel was said, this is kind of like the new HIV. You shouldn't be afraid to ask, hey, are you vaccinated? Do you have, you got your papers or whatever?
You got your papers.
Because a lot of that may depend, we've got older people in our lives who kind of depend on us to be the vanguard, against bringing certain diseases into them that they may be susceptible to. So asking these questions isn't just affecting us, it affects people behind us too. It can.
I agree.
Yeah,
Grace,
I say it's a big challenge.
Perfect. And Grace, what do you think?
I think
as far as making it normal.
Huh?
As far as right now, us, going ahead and understanding that we have to normalize dating. Would you agree with that?
I do. I think a lot of people are still in the phase of denial. They're not understanding that COVID may be around a lot longer than we expected it to be. Like, it's been 2 years now and it's still here. So just like how it's affected all other areas of our life, it's not normal to just go out and meet people in everyday settings, because COVID is always a hot topic in our everyday discussions now.
That is true. And then I guess the very sensitive issue in all of this would be is, everybody's status is different. It's one of those things where there's a lot of feedback on how people feel about the vaccine. But from you guys' perspective, if you're vaccinated, will you date somebody that's not vaccinated? And you guys can chime in. Anybody can chime in. It's a conversation.
Can I just raise my hand? Old school. So I would not rule someone out. It would change contact. I would definitely employ the 6 feet space and open air meeting. I respect everyone's choices, because even within my immediate family, there are some people that I love and care about deeply who are not vaccinated, and I can't make them get vaccinated. So I think we're in an age where you have to respect what makes other people comfortable. And the truth is everyone is not comfortable with this, what they perceive as quick to market vaccine going into their bodies. So the answer is, I would not rule someone out, but I would, and it kind of gives you a perception of someone to a certain degree. But I wouldn't rule them out and say, oh no, I can't, because I know some people who were vaccinated and they've transitioned. So that kind of shows all of us that the vaccine is not the holy grail.
Right.
So.
Roger, gotcha on that.
Very personal.
What about you? Yeah. What about you, Grace?
I wouldn't rule anyone out either, only because I just recently got vaccinated. like at the beginning of this month, only because it was costing me modeling jobs in the LA market and the New York market. But I personally did not that I don't believe in it. COVID is very real, but I held out this long just to get my vaccine so I wouldn't hold that against someone else who had the same sentiments.
I understand. Understand. And Crandall?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily rule anybody out, but they get put on the back burner for sure. Because I mean, this is kind of like, okay, what do you know, like when you're basically talking or interviewing people who you'd want to date, just say if COVID wouldn't exist, okay, well, do you have a job? Do you have kids? This is just one of those things to add on to the pile, to kind of gauge their desirability or not. You might them out, but probably if they found out they would rule out getting the vaccine themselves, well, then that would make them probably a better candidate, closer in to you maybe dating them. But for somebody to maybe go, no, I don't believe in it. It's not for me. I think it's a government conspiracy. That if that goes against you, well, that may tell you something if you've got your common sense meter on.
Okay, that's true. So then I guess the thing about, okay, so that's a possibility whether they're vaccinated or not. So what is, you guys kind of give me a perspective of what does a date look like during COVID? Crandall, can you start first? If you're meeting somebody for the first time.
By giving you what dating during COVID would look like, you're saying?
Yes.
Probably. That depends on the venue. Probably if it's the first time, you guys might be having you guys may have masks on when you first meet. I don't know. I guess it depends on how direct you are. If you want to go right to that point and ask them, or if you want to kind of feel out to see, would depend on how the conversation's going. Yeah. Nowadays, I'm not sure. Nowadays, it's kind of like, be asking a woman how much she's and asking a guy, okay, how much do you make? Kind of thing, to maybe in the first 30 seconds to go, hey, are you vaccinated? You may be looking out for yourself. You may put them on guard. It just depends on what kind of person you are to be able to handle that information and not, and not worry about how they feel. I don't know, but there would definitely be more talking, in this day and age about it. If that makes any sense.
I think that was knocked off somehow here. Okay, we have some technical glitches here. Okay, so how about you, Shandell? What would be a possible date during COVID?
So I think I would just focus on fresh air, being outside. I've had some dates during COVID, and they were pretty much all outside. Outside of that, it wouldn't change because I'm kind of old school. So there's no kissing and all that good stuff initially anyway. I think some people who may have been a little bit more aggressive or assertive in their touch factor on first dates or when they're meeting someone, I think COVID may have kind of given them a little pushback, but that wouldn't be anything new for me. But I think the biggest focus is when we're brainstorming, okay, where we're going to meet. I always go for the outdoor options or patio options or fresh air, so that we can feel comfortable taking off the mask and sitting across from each other and talking and having a conversation. I bought these clear, the mask that you get kind of on Amazon. So you put them on like glasses, and it's the clear shield. And people, I've had people joking, so I look like an alien and all that kind of stuff. But for me, when you're meeting someone initially, it's important for them to see your mouth and your facial expressions. So that's not a bad idea. If you're someone who's concerned, just get a shield so you can at least have that so they can know when you're smiling, right? And wearing the mask, I've had people walk up because I'm very expressive with my eyes, right? And people go, "Are you okay?" And it's like, well, you see my eyes doing this, but you can't see my smile, so you think I'm stressed out. And it's like, no, I'm having a good time. But no, I would stick to just outdoor options and fresh air because that makes a difference.
Right. Do we have any questions from our viewers just yet, Tracy?
No, ma'am, no questions yet. I've been watching. Let's see if there's got one comment just because I said that. I do have one question from Mr. Farrell Phelps. It says, is it realistic to wait until the COVID scare calms down to date? That question is for anyone who'd like to answer. Would you like, I can answer.
Yes, go ahead,
No,
please.
it's not realistic. And the reason why it's not realistic is that people are hungry for to be in the presence of other people. And so I think with COVID, it caused a lot of people to be depressed because they needed that interaction. And it's fine for us to do it on the computer screen or the phone screen and all that. But we all need that human touch factor, even if it's not necessarily touch, it's just the presence of another person. And for people who are single and may not have kids, they may not have pets, they may not have any of those things, they're home. And a lot of people, because of COVID, were very depressed, very sad, very lonely. And I think that even though I don't date and haven't dated, I think that dating is just one of those things that assist in preventing that depression and feeling a certain way. Some people feel like they have to have somebody around them in their life. Just because, but that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody in this room feels that way. But I do think that human connection is important. So yes, the realistic piece is that dating needs to continue and occur.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Grace, did you want to go ahead and share what a date during COVID looks like for you? What could possibly look like?
For me, I don't think it would look much different from prior to COVID, only because I do believe in COVID. I just don't necessarily trust how the vaccines have been administered, I guess, to society. I just don't want to say the wrong thing, and because I don't want to offend anyone, of course.
Absolutely.
People have had loved ones and people close to them die. So not to discredit that it's not real, but I do have my concerns about it. So hence why I'm just now getting vaccinated 2 years into it. But I wouldn't have any fears of interacting with someone that I'm on a date with. Like, I'm not going to wear a mask. I'll definitely give you a hug type of deal. I'm not going to refrain from any type of physical touch just because we are in a pandemic, which doesn't sound rational, but that's just me.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's everybody. That's the beauty of us being individual people. So, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, just like there's not a right or wrong answer for, your own choice, anybody's choice, whether they decide to be vaccinated or not be vaccinated. That's, that's part of us being individual people. So the other question I have is, I know, there's always been this online dating thing. So do you guys feel like that this is push more people to the online dating, or do you feel like people are trying to do more. I mean, has it changed that? Has it changed the online dating because of COVID? Anybody can chime in. We're just having a conversation. What do you guys think? What do you guys think?
I think.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Grace.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I think.
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Crandall.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I think it's changed a bit. I think because of COVID, you may have more people going online, to try to match up. But then when you do, you'll have to go out in public, I guess, to meet. So then what do you do from there? Do you go to like a big public gathering? Do you go to something a little bit more intimate? I don't know. Well, I wish I had some experience to be able to give you all. But
Right.
yeah, I think it's changed to where a lot of people will think that may be a safer option rather than rather than going out blind and meeting somebody.
Okay.
Maybe that way getting to know somebody online may be easier to ask them about vaccination rather than doing it in public. Maybe.
Right. And Grace,
Yeah.
what is your what do you think about? Do you think more people are dating online or not, or since COVID?
I think online dating has always been a huge aspect of the dating world. But I think more people from different, both socioeconomic and different age groups are more open to it now because we're all stuck in the house. So if you really want that natural human interaction, you're going to have to meet people online and then set up some type of date, whether it's social distance, if you believe in that or not.
I agree with that. How about you, Chandel? What do you think? You think it's changed online dating since COVID?
So I can't quote the exact source, but I've heard reports that online dating spiked during COVID. And it makes sense because all of a sudden you're afraid to talk to someone face to face for obvious reasons. So you guys can look that up. But I heard through some sources that the online dating has spiked in the last year, within the last year or so. And that makes a lot of, because even, I mean, it's hard to approach someone wearing a mask. You think twice about personal space in every way. And I think COVID just made us go into more of our shell, so to speak, when meeting someone out and about. So I ventured into online dating during COVID, and I ventured right back out in about a month. I'm not ready, pretty much. So,
and it's a personal choice, right?
Yeah.
It's a personal choice.
Very personal.
Looks like we may have some questions.
I have a couple of questions actually, or a couple of statements. The first one's from Deborah Simpson. It says, it's difficult but safer to wait to meet the person during COVID. Take time and utilize FaceTime. Our second question from Farrell Phelps. It says, how many people are you hanging out with in person? I guess just going out and doing things publicly with friends and dating or whatever we're doing now. I guess currently, what are we doing now in person?
So do we have like an intimate circle per se? Yeah, I would say I know for me, you have those. There's no guarantee. Even if your circle is intimate, in that intimate circle, people that I know firsthand, very careful, very cautious, but still have contracted COVID. Been vaccinated, things. So I think we just have to be due diligent and do the best that we can do. I think you can like the outdoors, the air, and all that stuff. I mean, you just have to do the best you can do. But one thing Crandall said earlier that really hit home for me is my mom has MS. And so my other part of, wanting to still make sure that I'm try to be as conscious as I can about the people that I'm around is knowing that even though she's vaccinated, that there's a possibility she could still be affected. So then around my parents, I still wear my mask. I was just over there today. I had my mask on, but I it's just one of those things that if I can do my part to keep, like there's no guarantee, but if I can do my part to, help protect them, then I want to do what I can. But I think it really, the whole thing is so personal. This is, I think, the first time ever I've known anything that has affected the whole world. You've had pandemics and things happen in different isolated regions of different countries and things like that. But this is the first thing that I've seen that has impacted the whole world, and something that's so personal but affects so many. That's what makes it so tragic and so hard to manage, because you don't want to judge people, um, and you don't want to be coerced or forced to do anything. But at the same time, we all have a responsibility. So it's that makes it really tough. That makes it really, really tough.
Okay, another statement says many experts agree it might be best to start with a virtual date. However, how long are you guys willing to remain virtual? Is it a good idea to self test together and show results virtually, then hook up?
I'm sorry, but that's too much.
Yeah. That's too much.
I believe in precaution, right? We all have common sense. And as Sonia said, you do your due diligence, especially to protect those you love and those who are compromised and at risk.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're that special, I'm probably not the person for you, because I will drive you crazy. So I've talk about intimate groups. I've met with groups of maybe give or take 10 throughout COVID and the pandemic. And it's because I am a social person. And I was missing my people. So when they invited me to birthday dinners, I'm there.
Yep.
Well, as well as clients. I've still met clients for lunch. Well, on 2 occasions, folks, one is a medical doctor. She was sitting right next to me. I hugged her bye. 2 days later, I get a text. I tested positive for COVID. I was like, whoa, I think I gave her a hug. The same thing happened about 2 months ago. Went to lunch with clients and we shared food, right, from the same bowl or whatever, and got a text within a week. I just tested positive for COVID. I've been vaccinated with booster and all that stuff, so I've done everything on my side to protect me, but I wasn't in a bubble. Thank God. I have yet to test positive for COVID, and all is well. But so sometimes you learn a lot about people during a pandemic when you're talking with them, and they are that specific. So sometimes it's a good thing. I think I would drive you crazy if we were in a dating relationship, because I'm not that. I don't live in a utopia, in a bubble, and I never will. And at some point I'm cautious, but I'm not that control. Like I can't control every factor in every person. So, and I say that, but I literally keep Clorox wipes in my keychain. So it's not like I'm watching everything. But at some point it's like we have to still live a little bit. And the increased suicide and depression is not a coincidence. I think there's a direct correlation between the increase in suicide and depression and COVID.
That's right.
Because a lot of people were on the edge anyway. And I think COVID and the isolation, I've lost a lot of mature folks that I love and admired because they were in nursing homes. And I just think that isolation is getting to the best of some of us. So in my mind, I've kind of said, well, I mean, you're going to go from something. I take precautions, but I'm not about to be like that rigid in venturing out. So.
Understand that. Anybody else want to jump in on that
I'd agree
comment?
with that.
Yeah. It's a lot
I
to.
think my
I mean,
audio is going out big time, but
we
I
can
would
hear
agree with
you.
that.
We can
We
hear
can
you.
hear you. We hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would agree with Miss Eaglin. Yeah, it's yeah, you do have to have limits on how, don't put the astronaut suit on, to avoid somebody. You got to live, but you also got to be smart and take precautions too. Yeah, I would have to echo her sentiments too. If somebody was like that, it would drive them crazy, by being a little bit more loose protection as much as we're talking about how much. After a while, it's like you come up a little bit, or you.
I was going to say we were losing him. I'm going to go ahead and read a couple of more statements here. Deborah says Zoom or FaceTime, and when comfortable, meet. You're definitely stepping out on faith. Farrell says watch some Netflix movie from each of your homes. Enjoy popcorn and make comments during and after the movie. Deborah says use wisdom. I'm a people person, so I move about with faith. And then the last statement is find a drive-in movie nearby and pack snacks. Pajamas are optional. LOL. So silly.
That sounds like fun. Especially if you have a designated driver. Yeah, you can.
Right.
Yeah. So to heat things up even more, a question I was asked to ask is, does the one night stand still exist during COVID? What do you guys think? Does a one night stand still exist during COVID?
So
yes, we went there.
There are
Heck
some
yeah,
that
it
are
does.
still,
That's all
yeah.
I'm saying.
There are some who are still doing the one.
Yeah, I think there's the wild group. There's always the wild cards.
Yeah.
And I definitely think the one night stand still exists for the wild cards.
Yes.
Because we're humans.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you get humans together, the human factor, when you get humans together. So I've been, and I think I've been listening to a lot of the Red Table Talks with Jada. But when you get humans together, you can put all those rules in place and all that stuff. And heavens forbid if you add alcohol to the human factor, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to say a lot of people may not be transparent or confident enough to say, yeah. And to be honest, just I'm not the one night stand type of person anyway. But for those who are, because I know I have some friends and family who are. And I can tell you that has not ruled out, especially with the vaccines, because the vaccines actually give the wild cards confidence. Yeah. I'm good. I'm vaccinated. Let's go.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, honestly, they may not admit it, but yes, it's not ruled out.
Yeah, it's still going
It may be
down.
reduced. It may be reduced greatly, but I don't see. Yeah, the wild card, they don't care about that.
It's probably a lot more phone sex and things like that that's going on too.
Absolutely.
All of those types of moves are being made. So.
Gotcha. Anybody else?
Just don't ask us if we've engaged in any of that. That's all.
No, it's not that kind of show. We're just having general conversation. Nobody has to speak about their personal experiences or all that stuff. We're just having a conversation about the world. Does anybody else want to comment on that, on the one night stands? Okay, good. All right. So what is something that you guys, now we have a panel of people talking about this, and we have a pretty diverse group, as far as age is represented here. So, do you guys, it's funny because I hear they say the younger kids, the younger people this, younger people that. But on the other point, I know just as many people, though, what we would say more mature. So I really don't think age has a lot to do with it. I think you may have larger groups doing some things, but I think ultimately it just goes back to the individual factor. So tell me if you guys think age categories have a difference with how the dating is handled during COVID. Chandel?
No.
No.
I think whatever
Okay.
the dating habits were before COVID, especially now that the vaccines have been proven to be effective,
Yeah.
I think whatever the dating habits were before COVID, we're past the scariest part of COVID, where it was like, "What is this? And will we die in 2 weeks or 2 months?" I think now that we have a more answers, it's my neighbor. I think now that we have more answers about it, I think people are kind of back to what they were doing pre-COVID, and it's lifestyle. I think it's less about age and more about lifestyle.
I would agree with that. How about you, Grace? What do you think?
I think for the young to mid 20-year-olds, they're doing the exact same irresponsible things they were doing before COVID.
That's your group, Grace.
We are still going out. We're still outside because a lot of them don't believe in it, or a lot of them at least are. I don't want to say like stereotypical conspiracy theorists, but they don't believe in the vaccine, so they continuously go out. They're around a lot of people, and if they're not getting sick, then they're like, "See, it's not real."
Wow.
And I just got vaccinated, so I'm very happy to be able to travel outside of the country. So I will still be going out just like in Hawaii and Mexico, hopefully.
That's so it's a little some freedom, and I think that's part of it. It's just after a lot of people may not have been interested in it, but there's so many things that in order to move forward that the world is changing to and saying and conforming that okay, this is what we need for that. And so then a lot of people that may not believe in a vaccine or those things, they're changing their mind so they can move forward with some of the things that they miss doing. And Chandel must be frozen because she's really happy.
She's really smiling.
She's really
oh, there she is. Okay. You were just frozen in a smile. So we thought, wow.
Yes, that beautiful smile was lighting up everything.
Yeah.
Am I still frozen or no? Am I normal?
Yes, you are. We're seeing you now.
You're moving now.
But there was a comment. There was a comment. I'm sorry, Sonia. Someone on the LinkedIn account said that they agree with Grace. So clearly there's some opinions here that are kind of formulated around exactly what she was talking about. So
that's awesome. Yeah. And then I think I know several people that are not for the vaccine but want to travel. So it's like in some ways they're being forced because they want to get back to living. But that doesn't mean that things they have control over, they're going to change those things. It just means that what they have to conform to, they will in order to get back to some of the things that they want to do. So back to the dating thing, does anybody think that, you talk about celibacy, has that maybe increased with COVID or just dating in general? Because that can be, because you can date and be celibate. I believe that. But does anybody think that maybe this is a time where people are thinking about that more, because of COVID?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody want to speak up on that? What they think about the celibacy during COVID, or if this is why people are maybe moving to that?
I think it's just a different risk level because people have risky behavior, especially because everyone has a price. Imagine if you meet someone who checks all of your boxes and you just decide this is someone I'm going to take that risk with. It's a different risk level with like post COVID. Before COVID, it's like, okay, I can end up pregnant or with an STD. Now, with a whole pandemic and a disease going around, you could end up in the grave.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
that's just like a different mindset to be in because I don't want to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's anybody else want to chime in on that? Crandall, what do you
So,
think about the celibacy during COVID? Do you think that's something that has been practiced more because of COVID? I guess is a good way to ask the question.
Crandall, can you hear?
was that on me, Sonia, or were you talking to Chandel?
No, I was talking to you, Crandall. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I said
okay,
he's thinking
okay. I'm
about it.
sorry. Yeah, yeah, really. Like, can I get some? Where's it at? Huh? The the celibacy thing, man. Yeah, I think Grace made a good point about you could die with this thing. It's not like
Mhm.
contracting an STD and having it for life. This here could take your life. So,
Mm,
you know what? I'm not really sure how that's affecting people's judgment nowadays. It's something to think about, though. But I don't have the numbers, or I haven't really heard anything as far as that affecting dating. But that's a good point. A good something to think about, though.
all right. Anybody else want to chime in on that before we go on to the next question? Yeah. Okay. So there's a question, Michelle, and the thing that I think is very good. Can you read that question from about the
Dating someone
complicated?
who's had COVID? Okay, yeah. The question is, would you date someone who has had COVID and living with the complications from it if all boxes are checked?
Hmm. Hmm. That's a tough one. If they had COVID and they
Hmm.
checked and every box checked off.
Right. They're just living with the complications from it. So, there are some people who've had lung issues and different
Oh, yeah,
things, that kind
yeah.
of the residue of having it. And the question is, would you date someone who's had COVID and is dealing with those types of issues?
Yeah. Huh. I guess it depends. I guess if on their degree of how it affected them, dating would probably be like number 5 on their list.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm,
probably getting themselves healthier would probably be number 1.
Right.
So, but I don't know what I personally date. I guess if they were okay with it, and by okay, I'm meaning, not stuck in that same, okay, well, I got it, there's nothing I can do. But I guess if they were actively trying to get healthier and just doing their follow-up checkups or whatever, I guess it would be okay. I guess.
Okay.
yeah. And then if I can chime in on that, the thing now, this is the other thing that really is the hardest part I think about COVID is you have people that have had mild symptoms that have had it and gotten better or are no symptoms at all. And then you have people that have had COVID and gotten over it and gotten better. Then you have people that had COVID that are still living with serious things that are
Mhm.
affecting them. I know people that can no longer do their jobs. I know people that were not on oxygen before. I know people that are actually on dialysis because of COVID. I know people that their digestive system, they can't eat like they used to. So it's one of those so unknown, just how it's going to affect everybody individually. That question to me I think it just goes to, are you a person that, they say for better or for worse? Well, that's if you're in a marriage, and something happens and a person gets sick, are you going to be there? Are you going to bail? So the difference is think how COVID has affected people that had no, this happened to them. And now this is a very big part of their life. And some things they can't change, they can't fix. I mean, they're going to the doctors. The doctors don't even know how to fix these things that they're dealing with, so on a daily basis, they're trying to research and they call them long haulers, how to help these people get back to a better quality of life. And when they have a common cold, we know what the common cold with this particular variant, it could very well be COVID and you don't know it, so I think that question is kind of a twofold question, because you don't sign up for that when you're dating. When you're dating to just enjoy life, find a relationship and those things. But doesn't mean you can't be compassionate and say, hey, I really care about this person, so I'm going to be there for them. So what's your guys' take on that as far as living, dating somebody that's living with those complications? Grace?
Well, I'd say that if we all took your example, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Me?
Grace?
Okay, so I personally would not take that on. That might sound shallow because of how it has affected the entire world, but I just personally wouldn't want that at the beginning of my relationship. I feel like it would break the relationship down over time. Because I think resentment could be a possible aspect of it the harder it gets, because there's only so much we can all take based off of our own past experiences.
That's true.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that being a caretaker of someone, like whether it's an elderly person or someone with disabilities, that does make you just like see them in a different light and interact with them differently. And when it comes to romance, I don't think that's a struggle that I want in the beginning.
I think that's fair. That's fair and very valid. Chandel?
So my stance is a little different from Grace. Grace is 25. I'm 45. So I think that lifestyle and where you are in life plays into how you see this. The $1 million question for me that would make a big difference is, what was your lifestyle like before COVID? Because that's the thing, your nutrition, your wellness, your movement. And are you doing things that contradict the healing and recovery process? You had COVID and you're recovering and you're still smoking. Yeah, no, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and write you off, right? If you had COVID and you're recovering and you're eating fried chicken and BS and poison 5 or 6 days a week, I don't think you really want to recover, or do you? So those are the things that I would look for to go, But if this is someone who truly COVID took them to their knees and they're recovering and they're making the right choices, right? For nutrition and they're walking or at least some movement. I don't care if it's yoga on the floor. If you're doing something to help your wellness and being proactive and acting like you care, well then, you know what? I'll go on a walk with you. So I have a more of an open mind towards that, because father's time is father's time. And it would be based on their lifestyle. I wouldn't rule them out, because I had someone that was potential and he was diagnosed with COVID, and it felt so weird doing the drop off, I dropped off some Sam's supplies, right? Some of the things that were on the list for recovery. I dropped it off and he was standing in the middle of his yard, and it felt so weird unloading the car. And it's like, hey, be safe. Good luck with everything. And that was, and he was probably in week 1 of his COVID, day 3 or 4. And that was a reminder of how quickly everything could go from, we're getting to know each other, to, whoa, I can't touch you. Don't come near my car. And he knew. So he literally stood in the middle of the yard. I unloaded everything, and it was like, hey, I am praying for you. And I hope everything. And so, give or take a month later, I saw him, and I was, and it was like, well, I'm not completely myself, and all that. So it wasn't because of his COVID recovery; it was because of his lifestyle that made me go,
Gotcha.
this, so.
Wow.
That's Sonia, I do have I have another statement here, and it says dating is hard because you don't know who you can trust to be honest about their status, who they've been in contact with. I'm sorry, it jumped. And then it says the risk is too great.
Wow.
And then the next statement they made says it's isolating. So I think that they prefer to not be. I think a lot of people still kind of have a arm's length attitude about it, in regard to just knowing people, trusting people, knowing what they're doing in recovery, knowing what they're doing to be safe in COVID and not to even become positive. And it's different for everyone. So Deborah Simpson says she would move if she met someone and they were in recovery. She says, absolutely, I would move in wellness with them. So.
Okay. And Kendall, you were going to say something before?
Yeah, that's a deep question. That's a good question. It's a deep one. I'd have to take some time to think about that one. But I know this much. If we all followed your example, Miss Sonia, of what you did, you lived this question. If we all followed your example, this would be a whole lot better planet. That's all I can say. If you did it, you whatever you asked of us, you did that question. So we'd all be better human beings if we followed your example.
Yeah. And I think maybe the difference may be that we were already in a relationship. So, and then it's the level of the relationship you're in. So if you're treating each other like you're already in a committed relationship, and it's just lacking the piece of paper, then your commitment level to caring for that person would be different than somebody that you're dating and you're really not sure about the longevity. Of course, we're never all sure about longevity of relationship, but if you've formulated some trust and you've gotten to know the person and you're on the same page, I will say the experience that I experienced taking care of Pharaoh was totally out of body because of the love I had, that there was no option. That was, whatever was being said, I rebuked it, and I just knew that together we can get through it to the other side, and we did. So I think the type of relationship would have a big variance on if that's something a person could do or not do as well. So.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? Thank you.
Lots of comments. One of them, let's go all from Farrell Phelps until we get to Miss Simpson. Mr. Phelps says, honestly, many contract COVID that are around minimal people. It's not always about being around multiple people. He also said, Crandall rocks. Thanks, brother. Deborah said, amen. And kudos to Sonia.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. So the reason I want to have this conversation today is that there's going to be, the whole reason for the show was that we have all of these conversations that are moving around in the world, but when you have different ages, different genders, sometimes it's just a lot of talk and nobody's listening to anybody. And so I think, whether you hear something and it informs or changes your mind, it's just very important that we all listen, because we can learn something from each other. Everybody's experience may not be good for one person, but for somebody else, there's something that could be said or heard that can be taken into somebody else's life that could make a difference. And so I know there's a lot of people out there that are contemplating dating during COVID, contemplating what that means. So I just wanted to have this conversation to talk about it. What does that really look like today? Is it really happening? Has it changed the mindset? So I'm really happy that you guys took the time to come on here and talk about it, because it's happening. And I think this is our reality. When people say the new norm, I don't even think that's a real thing, because every day you wake up, it's a choice. And that's why mental health is so important at this time of our life, that we self-care. We start initially with ourselves, with every action. Dating is something fulfilling, and having those exterior relationships with people are important, but you have to be okay yourself first. Because whether you go home by yourself or whatever, at the end of the day, you have to be able to look in the mirror and be okay with you. And if not, get some help, talk to somebody, love yourself. And I think when it comes to dating during COVID, date yourself initially. This is a time to get to know who you are. And the better we understand who we are, the better we know who best suits us. Sometimes we get caught up
That's out of that.
into, yes. Yeah. So anybody jump in at any time. But I just think everything starts with us first. Sometimes we're so busy looking outward, and we look at all the negative things about COVID. I feel if you haven't grown since COVID, you haven't really taken the time to get to know who you are. And so I would appeal to the listening audience and say, you're worth it. You're worth it.
Very good
Let's-
point. Very
Have any
good.
Let's-
feedback on that?
Let's look at some of our takeaways before we end our conversation here. Okay, number one takeaway: be safe. 2, taking more time to get to know someone could lead to a longer relationship. And 3, you really need to meet in person. Does anyone want to elaborate on any of that, or do you think those are good takeaways? What do you think?
Yeah, I think those are good. The 3 big good ones to. Those are because those kind of like go across the board, whether there's COVID here in the world or not. That's something that'll last the test of time. Barring it,
Yeah.
doesn't have to have a disease to make us do that. That's good advice anyway.
Anybody else?
Sorry about my sound quality over here.
I would just like to add that dating is a factor. That's the conversation today. But taking care of ourselves, like Sonia said, mentally, and taking care of your body and being proactive is half of the battle, right? Eating well, nutrition is a factor, because it all connects to immunity and building your immunity. And if you were to get COVID, are you giving your body what it needs to do its job? And the body's job is to fight disease. If you're taking care of your body, if you've abused your body, abused your nutrition, your movement, you haven't given your body what it needs. So I think the big picture goal is to take, like Sonia said, take care of yourself, your mental, your physical. And if you should get it, your body will fight, because that's what it was designed to do. But if you've been abusing your body and eating poison and doing all the things that you shouldn't be doing, but it feels good, so I do it. It's kind of like, just put yourself in the best position to fight. I'm sorry, do what? What about Twinkie?
No, I know exactly. That's a very good point. Those banana Twinkies are calling me right now.
Yeah, but hold on, it's balanced, right? It's balanced, because I have my Sunday dessert. I have my German chocolate cupcake waiting on me, but that's my treat for the week, right? So it's like, it's balanced. But I'm just saying, big picture. 75-80% of the time, are you nourishing your body so your body can fight and do what it was designed to do, right? I think there are a lot of people who had COVID, and because they're in optimum health, they never knew it, right? But at the end of the day, self-care is important. Mental and physical, and spiritual. well.
Yeah, and you just opened another door there with minorities in nutrition. So there's
Yeah,
That's
I
a
was
whole
not
nother
going to go there,
show.
Crandall. I was not going to go there, but I'm going to leave that to Sonia for the next show. Sonia,
That's a whole nother show we'll have to have. Whole nother show.
another
And,
show.
and Grace, what do you think about the mental health or that point for self-care?
I think if you're not your best self, you're obviously not going to attract the best for yourself. So if you're on dating websites to fill a void, it's going to show up eventually when that relationship or situationship is what a lot of people have nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
It'll fill out,
absolutely.
and at the end, it's I don't know.
Get back to
That's
it.
really good.
Sometimes.
Yeah, that's really good.
Situationships. Yeah, I like that word.
You gotta love situationships. They're so normal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
what
that's
was
good
that?
stuff.
Situationships?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you never define the relationship, so it's like a pass for bad behavior
Mm-hmm.
of getting the milk without buying the entire cow and just other reckless behavior that a lot of young people do.
Grace, you're preaching on a Sunday. I mean,
Yes.
I was gonna say she's
Huh?
the youngest one on the panel, but she's
Yeah.
very
very
mature.
wise, very wise. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, I
yes.
just want to make sure
Pastor
that
Grace.
the audience. Grace is 25 years old, and she is sharing wisdom
Yes.
that
Yes.
some 60-year-olds do not have.
That's right.
Absolutely. So honored to have that as
Pastor
well. And
Grace.
then, that's a beautiful thing to show it's not about age. It is truly not about age. And it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
The nice thing is hopefully we can get it. Some get it sooner, some get it later, but you know what? It's not too late to get it. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, self-care, and you got to be okay for somebody or to know what you're looking for. That's powerful, Grace. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. All right, guys. This is one of those things we can talk about for hours and all day long, but I'm so appreciative of you guys stopping in and having this real conversation with us. And hopefully, somebody will watch this, replay it later, or they watched it today and they have a takeaway. It's not a conversation to change your mind or make you think anything particular, but just a conversation to know that there are different point of views out there. And so, of course, for more information, you can contact the email, yourvoicetalkshow@gmail.com, to learn more about the guests. And we look forward to you guys joining our next platform, Your Voice Talk Show. Thank you guys so much. You guys have an amazing day and evening.
Happy Sunday.
And thanks for joining us.
You guys
And I
do.
want
Thank you.
want
Thanks
to
for the invite.
let me
Yes.
just add also, there are a number of comments that I was unable to read. So please go back and read through the comments and maybe interact with some of the people that are on here. And that's for our panel and for our watching listeners. So just to let you guys know.
We're going to
Thank
continue
you.
the conversation off the air, right?
Definitely.
Absolutely. You guys, thank you so much
Bye,
for joining
ladies.
us. And
Thanks,
we'll see you
Sonia.
guys
Nice
next time.
meeting everyone. Happy
Thank
Sunday.
you guys.